Okay.
All right, great. Let's call this meeting to order and begin by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Let's recess into solid waste.
Move to approve the minutes of December 10th, 2020.
You're muted, Sabrina.
Okay, I will second. Sorry about that.
It's okay. Roll call, Amy?
Vicki,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Move to approve the December 17th, 2020 bills as presented by the county auditor.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicki,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move to approve the December 17th, 2020 journal vouchers as presented by the county auditor.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicki,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move to approve the December 17th, 2020 then and now certification as presented by the county auditor.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicki,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Bill, do you have any comments on D?
No, it's just, it does take into account that we do have the rate increases in there. And we're currently working on some ideas to narrow that gap that we show in the budget shortfall.
Okay. Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to adopt the for-year ending 2021 appropriations budget for the Portage County Solid Waste Management District.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicki,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners authorizes the external posting of the full-time CDL truck driver replacing Paul Ververka for the Portage.
Ververka.
Okay. For the Portage
job,
County
Vicki.
Solid Waste Management District.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicki,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay.
Everyone
Thank you
have a
so
great
much,
holiday
Bill.
season.
Hey, you also, Bill.
Thank you.
Share.
Bye. Somewhere along the line, I lost my video, but that's okay.
Do we have a motion to adjourn the solid waste?
So moved.
I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicki,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes. All right, let's reconvene the general session and Janet, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thanks. Actually, the first item on my agenda is the implicit bias diversity inclusion training. And I just wanted to give a board the update regarding the training. Some dates have been scheduled for it, and it is for next year. We have 3 sessions scheduled for employees on 3 different days and 3 different times to accommodate the different work shifts. The training has been scheduled for Wednesday, February 17th of 2021 from 9 to 10:30, and then Wednesday, February 24th from 3 to 4:30, and then also Friday, March 19th from 1 to 2:30. So I just want to make sure that the board was aware of those 3 dates. If there's any dates that you didn't agree with or whatever, but I worked with the trainer last week to have these dates scheduled, and it will be virtual training, obviously. And I will also open up the training to all county employees, including like the elected officials in the non-commissioner departments. And we will make the training mandatory for the commissioner employees to attend. But yeah, the training is going to be done by Bradley Dunn. He is a trainer with the Ohio Civil Rights Commission. And he sounds very enthusiastic, which is great. I really enjoyed my conversation with him last week. But so as long as the board is okay with those 3 dates, I did send an FYI out to the directors a couple days ago, just so they're aware of it and it's kind of on their radar. But we'll coordinate all the registration through the Human Resources Department and make sure all of the commissioner departments or the commissioner employees are attending at least one of the sessions.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Janet, what were those dates again, real quick? Just a second.
Okay. It's February 17th
Okay,
from 9 to 10:30,
okay,
and then February 24th from
Okay.
3 to 4:30,
okay.
and then March 19th from 1 to 2:30.
Okay. And you want a commissioner there at each session, at least one commissioner?
If that's possible, that'd be great. Yeah.
Thank
Is
you.
it going to be done by Zoom, Janet, or how is this going to be done?
They're actually going to use it, Google Teams.
Okay.
That's the platform that the Civil Rights Commission has approved their trainers to use. So it'll be done via Teams.
Okay,
And then if someone doesn't have access to a computer, they could actually call in using their phone.
Oh.
And they also do not need the Teams application. They could view the training on the internet browser. So it's not like someone has to download the app in
Okay.
order to watch. But I did verify that. So, I mean, this is our first time really trying to coordinate a huge virtual training. So I'm hoping it goes well. It seems like other counties are doing it. So, you know, hopefully it'll go off pretty easy. And then my second item is regarding the travel memo.
Mhm.
This memo, we actually put this memo together back in September. However, the CDC has recently changed their guidelines for cruise travel and international travel. So I just wanted to update the memo with those slight changes regarding the quarantine period when an employee returns from cruise or international travel. But the memo is also trying to reiterate that because the guidelines are changing so frequently, and although we try to keep up with them, the employee should check with the CDC on the guidelines, you know, should check their website. So in that way, they're not waiting to hear from me what the guidelines are.
Yeah.
But the memo tries to reiterate that.
It looks like they reduced a lot of the quarantine periods.
They did. They actually, because before for the cruise, they were recommending a 14-day quarantine. And
Yeah,
now they've really mirrored their other they reduced their quarantine period when you travel to a state. They actually reduced it down to 7 days.
10 days, yeah.
Test negative, and they've test positive, you're to isolate 10 days. So they reduced the quarantine period for that. The international travel, they, back in September, they actually had a blanket statement saying just to monitor yourself, monitor your health. And they really were, in the very beginning, they had the 14-day quarantine. And then they removed that 14-day quarantine and just basically said, just monitor your health. So, but this time they did add, if you participate in higher risk activities, you would quarantine then, and based on the guidelines there. So for the 7 days, if you test negative, and again, if you test positive, it'd be the 10 days. They're still obviously endorsing the 14-day quarantine period because that's really the safest. But just trying to get people, you know, back to work. They reduced their quarantine periods. So those items did change in the memo, but everything else is staying the same. The travel within Ohio has stayed the same. You know, Governor DeWine's travel advisory has stayed the same if you travel to a state with 15% or higher. So all of that stayed the same. It's just really the cruise and international travel that were updated.
your list of the states is getting longer and longer, Janet, with a 15% or over.
I I know, you know what, and I looked back and when I started doing this, I want to say I started, I think maybe end of July, beginning of August. I can't remember my first one, but yeah, there were like 3 states listed.
Yeah.
And now unfortunately, there's usually about 14
Yeah.
that we have listed now on the email. So yeah, that's unfortunate. That's getting longer. But if you guys are okay with the memo, I would like to send it out to the directors, just so they're aware.
I think that's a
I'm
good
okay.
idea.
And then my last item, I'm really just bringing this to you for your attention. This was actually, if you remember back in March, the board created really the first policy before the federal government did with the Family First Coronavirus Act. You had implemented the public health emergency leave policy on March 16th of 2020. And then the Family First Coronavirus Act was implemented on April 1st. So, but before April 1st, we actually had the emergency leave policy out there for employees to use. So really what I did that right now, the FFCRA, the Family First Coronavirus Act, expires on December 31st. I have not heard yet. We have not heard if it is going to be extended beyond December 31st. And we have employees already asking what's going to happen if it's not extended. So I decided just to bring this policy back to the board with a few revisions because things have changed since March. Just to see if the FFCRA is not extended beyond December 31st, is this something that you would like to implement effective January 1st until we hear otherwise regarding the FFCRA?
I think it would be a good thing to have because the other one expires on the 31st.
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
So we would need something until then.
Yeah, and I mean, everything I'm reading, it sounds like it may be extended, but seeing, this is December 17th already and nothing has came out yet. And I know you have, you have employees that are concerned and what happens come January 2nd if I have COVID or whatever.
Right.
So I really just want to bring this forward to see if you wanted to reenact it with the revisions, because like I said, we've learned about COVID obviously since March, and things have changed regarding the quarantine periods, for example, and also we also have the child leave and remote learning policy implemented right now. And so I changed that section in this policy as well. So people that are staying home with the children that are remote learning will actually follow the child leave policy. Whereas back in March, we had it in the original emergency leave policy.
Okay. It's okay with me.
And again, if this would be effective January 1st of 2021, unless we hear the FFCRA is extended.
Right.
Then, we obviously would not implement this policy. We would follow the FFCRA. But
Okay.
now, we can at least have this one in our back pocket, just in case it's not extended.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. And I have a resolution attached. So if you agreed to it, then there's a resolution attached to your packet.
Okay. Move that the Board of Commissioners approves this revisions to the temporary public health emergency leave policy for COVID-19 and agreeing to reenact the policy effective January 1, 2021.
Hey, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you.
Thanks, Janet.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks.
Good morning.
Morning, Joanne.
We're ready for you.
Great, I got some resolutions for you today.
Okay.
The very first one is on behalf of the county engineer and the stormwater district. They want to be able to enter into an agreement with EMACC an engineering firm to do work on stormwater at a cost of $17,500.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to accept the proposal of EMH&T for providing on-call consulting services relating to administration of the Portage County Stormwater District.
Joanne, so I see this is on call. Is this normal and customary for us to do this?
When it comes to that particular stormwater, yeah, because we never know if they're really going to need to have services, and only when he's got something he has to do. So yeah, this is a type that we've entered into before for him.
Okay, I just didn't remember it. Okay, thank you. I'll second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Okay, number 2 is entering into a contract with MS Consultants for engineering services, again for the county engineer. They're going to replace the new Melford Road Bridge in the Ritztown section, in Ritztown Township, at a cost of $43,103.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to accept the proposal of MS Consultants, Inc. and enter into an agreement for providing engineering services for the new Milford Road Bridge Replacement Project R00214CH31 Section K in Ritztown Township, Portage County.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Okay, number 3, the project for the resurfacing 441 for the county engineer again on various county roads is finally completed, and they had one change order to their contract in the amount of $39,694.08, which brought the total to $603,030.48. And this is to enter into the change order and accept it and flag for the final payment.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to accept the contract change order number 1 and final to the construction agreement between the Board of Commissioners and Carvo Companies, Inc. for the 441 resurfacing project for the resurfacing of various Portage County roads.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina.
Yep.
Kathleen.
Yes.
The next is we're putting out a request for proposals for construction administrative services for the Silica Sand Road Bridge replacement in Wyndham on behalf of the county engineer again. And they wanted to, they're requesting to accept proposals, and the first publication of the advertisement was in the Record Courier on December 18th, and they also posted it on ODOT's website.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to the public announcement of available contract for professional construction administration services for the project known as Silica Sand Road Bridge Replacement, WIN 163CH253.
I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Yes.
The next one on behalf of the county engineer is to accept the escrow agreement and payment guarantee for the Germain Reserve Phase 1 in Franklin Township upon the recommendation of the county engineer and the prosecutor who reviewed it, in the amount, the agreement would be going to Newcomer Partners and Huntington for the escrow side in the amount of $24,219.76.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to accept the escrow agreement and payment guarantee for construction inspection services for Germain Reserve Phase 1 in Franklin Township, Portage County.
I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Okay, number 6 and 7 are both JFS contracts that should have been in prior because they go from October 1st of 2020 to September of 2021, but there was a funding issue that they could not encumber the money. The first one is with Community Action Council. This is PRC funding for utility assistance, and the amount is $100,000.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to enter into an amendment number 2 for prevention, retention, and contingency utility assistance services between the Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Portage County Job and Family Services and Community Action Council of Portage County.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina, yes.
Yes.
Okay, and the last one is a PRC amendment number 2, this time for home repair services with Coleman, or Community Action Council, I'm sorry, going from October 1st, 2020 through September 30th of 2021 in the amount of $20,000.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to enter into an amendment for prevention, retention, and contingency home repair services between the Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Portage County Job and Family Services and Community Action Council of Portage County.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
All right, thank you all.
Thanks, Joanne.
Joanne.
Thanks.
Bye.
Good morning, Sue and Kelly Jo.
Good morning.
Morning.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. Good morning.
Good morning. We're
We
ready
also
for you.
We have Mandy Bardinelli that probably needs access, Amy, and Jared McIntosh, who's our union president, who also would need access. I gave them the link, Amy, so I'm not sure how that works.
Ah,
There they come.
You're coming in? Okay.
Yep. Hey, Jared, you're muted.
Good morning.
Morning.
I told them they had to show their faces, and Mandy was gonna- Oh, there they are. Jared, you have your lipstick. I mean, Mandy, you have your lipstick on. Okay. Are you ready to get started? Yeah, are we good?
We are, yep.
Okay, so good morning, and I'm going to start with our September-October 2020 data report. The first page relevant to public assistance, cash assistance, food assistance, Medicaid, and child care. I feel that the numbers are consistent from when I reported out last month. So unless you have any questions, I'm going to move on to page 2. Regarding our net transportation, and that's we receive federal Medicaid dollars for net. We have seen an increase in numbers from September to October, most specifically in the rides that our in-house drivers are able to do for Ohio Means Jobs and net. But so the need continues to be great, and we're seeing some numbers increase. We're seeing calls, about 58 more calls from September to October, as far as residents trying to coordinate services with us. So that's a good thing that we're able to get people to where they need to go, especially connecting to their medical appointments. Customer Service Center, that's also in public assistance. Those numbers are consistent as far as the calls that are coming into our center. We're averaging about 3,200 per month. Down at the bottom, I talked to you last month about the moratorium on overpayments being lifted for October. So you do see an increase in the numbers of claims that are now being calculated because Ohio Department of Job and Family Services has given us permission to move forward in that space. Moving on to Ohio Means Jobs, and I don't know where the header went on that, or at least for my printout. I know that we're expected to get an unemployment report today, but last reported in October, we had 4.6% unemployment rate in Portage County. So that's it for 3 as far as changes that I'm seeing. Under the impact program, again, reminder that that was the program that we brought in-house, replacing the Passages program. So we continue to get a number of referrals for obligors as far as getting assistance for employment and reemployment. We're having some challenges there. Mandy's on the call as far as follow through, but we continue to outreach to date a total of 128 participants in that program. And then under the work experience program, again, there is still a moratorium relevant to work site participation. And that's where individuals that receive public assistance benefits are required to work and or train for their benefits. But because of limitations with work sites associated with the pandemic, that requirement is not on us at this point. So that's why you're seeing really low numbers under the all family participation rate and the 2-parent participation rate. Our numbers in CCMEP, while they were over 200 before the pandemic, and I talked to you a little bit about this last month, we have seen a reduction, but there's consistency from September to October that we have 138 CCMEP youth still participating in our program. And then moving on to the Children's Services Division on page 6, this report reflects 209 children in our custody, in JFS custody as of October. Delayed reports as of Monday, we have 200 youth in our custody. Residential placements, you'll see 12. There were 15 in September. October 12. It's been consistent around 12. As you recall, one of our goals was to try to get it to 7. And so we definitely are going to have a lot more efforts in the new year, and I'll bring those to you. But so we still have a few more kids in residential than we'd like to have. And our clinical manager, who's Eric Metz, he and I actually went out to 2 residential facilities this past month. And he's working in tandem with the clinical staff in those residential treatment facilities to ensure that when kids are ready to step down out of residential placement, that we do so timely and we don't allow kids to linger in those placements. So that his role is new and we're working to mentor with him, but we're looking forward to what he's going to do in 2021. I recently had a meeting with Judge Berger and Judge-elect Smith, and we talked about having the probation officers for some of these kiddos go out with Eric in 2021 too, so that they can actually be on site at the facilities and see the kids and talk to the clinical team too. A number of those kids in those facilities have come to us through juvenile court. So I'm excited for them to collaborate with us in 2021. Any questions in that space?
Yeah, just real quick, Kelly Jo, can you remind me what the peak number was on children in your care? Are we getting close to that again, or was it closer to 300?
264 was our peak several years ago related to the opioid epidemic. And so no, we're, thank goodness, nowhere near that. But, you know, substance abuse is still very much prevalent in communities. And we still believe that our numbers are where they are because we're not getting the amount of reports that we have historically because of the pandemic. So, you know, that's still a concern of ours, but no, 264 was our peak. I think it was in 2018. And that, again, I'm talking about money, but that's when, you know, our 2 million surplus kind of plummeted too, when we had that skyrocketing number. So
Got it. Thanks.
thank you for, yes. Page 7 is related to child support, and their numbers are very consistent. On a monthly basis, that staff is dispersing about $1.9 million to families in the form of child support to provide the financial support to kids and families. And then last is just an overview of our employment numbers. And so in September, at the end of September, we had 191 employees. At the end of October, 189, or hovering around 190. We're about 10 staff less because of the hiring freeze and the pandemic. And so we're going to maintain those numbers for budgetary purposes and, you know, as long as we can, but we continue to bring essential positions to you when we feel we need to at least fill those immediately. So thank you. And we'll be doing that in the first of the year as well. So that's the data report. I don't know if you had any final questions about that or comments. No? Okay.
No.
Great. So we sent you all up the newsletter for your review and sign off, but I also included it in your packet because the front page talks about our toy drive. So because of the pandemic this year, we did a toy drive on January 5th at the administration building, and it was a phenomenal activity or success. We had 57 cars come through that toy drive-through. And you should see the second floor in the administration building. It's overflowing with gifts. Commissioner Bennett, I know you came out in the bitter cold, and so you got to see what was going on, and it was a great turnout. We had also, in addition to that, over $3,000 in cash donations. Outside of that, we had 55 community members, businesses, and churches that also donated. We sent out bulbs, 200 bulbs for every child in custody, where they were able to give their wish lists. And so all of those bulbs were taken. And this has been, since I've been a director for the last 5.5 years, this by far is the best holiday as far as receiving gifts and the community turnout than any. And you would think the opposite because we're in a pandemic, but people turned out in support of Children's Services and the kids in care. And so publicly, I just want to say thank you to the Portage County residents. They just never skip a beat with us. They're always supportive of us and what we do in that space. And so I get really emotional to think about it, but the kids are truly going to have a phenomenal Christmas this year. So I just wanted to report out on that and brag a little bit.
It's wonderful. Wonderful.
Yes. The third thing is goal for it. I put it wrong. I was speeding through my agenda. I said go for it. It's goal for it. So goal for it is a program. So the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services asked for volunteers of the 88 counties to see if any workforce divisions wanted to throw their hat in the ring if this innovative, motivational, interviewing, success leadership type program. And of course, Mandy and her team said, we want to do it. And so they have been in training and involved in this for months now. And they have put so much weight behind it that Mathematica, which is a nationally recognized entity, asked Mandy to speak this past Monday about what we're doing in Portage County. And so I just wanted to invite her to speak for a few minutes about it and tell you, where we're at. So it's a great program. Go ahead, Mandy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. We're really excited about this. The state, like Kelly Jo said, was asking for volunteers. And of course, when I see something that really fits my management style and I get excited about it, I go running to her and she always supports us. So thank you, Kelly Jo, for that. But goal for it, in a nutshell, Mathematica has a really fancy definition about how it's a science-informed approach to implementing workforce and human services programmings. But in a nutshell, it's this 4-step process that at the center of it puts the client's aspirations, their dreams for the future right at the center. And so while we were already doing some of those steps in CCMEP, this really forces us to be more intentional about it. So we sit down with the youth and we spend some time talking open-ended questions, getting a feel for what they really want and getting their buy-in, because we know when we tap into the things they really want, then they're more motivated to actually complete them. And then we've started being more intentional in our language that we're using. And so we're talking about not just about how we're planning this, but also then we know with every good plan, there's always going to be potholes in the road. And so we plan along with the youth, when you hit that pothole, because you inevitably will, what are going to be your detours? So they're learning up front some of those self-regulation skills where they might break down or not be successful in their personal goals or in the workforce because they don't know how to deal with those potholes. And then we send them away with this very detailed plan on what they want to do. And then we're reviewing it, what we call our wrap session, and we follow up with them really regularly. So it's this really intentional, circular 4-step process. And every time they come back to us for the review, we're either finishing up the goal that they had, or we're setting a new goal that reaches their overarching goal of being self-sufficient and getting employment. And it's been really positive. We haven't used it with we haven't used it with the public yet, because what's unique about this program is we use it with our staff as well. And so we've spent a lot of time, like Kelly Jo said, training, months. So we went to months of training. And the idea is you start with your staff first, because what it does is it teaches your staff, what I've seen already, what I can speak to is, people, when you start to change things, they're like, why are we doing this? Or this makes me uncomfortable. And I keep pushing it back around to, we are in our day-to-day jobs at work, and we get lost into the transactional piece of it. Somebody applies, we do this, then we do that. And what it does is it gives them a new perspective of how the client feels when they come into our office and they don't know us, they don't know what to expect, they're nervous. And so it gives them a new form of empathy for what the client is going through, and it kind of mirrors the process. So we're going to mirror it with our teams, and then we're going to roll it out so that it is with our customers as well. But feedback from the staff so far has been so positive. They love it because they feel in control. They're focusing on personal development in a lot of their goals. Couple people are like, I feel like I'm in the driver's seat. It's leveled the playing field too between, that level of power between management and frontline staff, which will roll over to leveling the playing field between our case managers and our customers. And so things have been going so well, and Mathematica is just really impressed with some of the stuff we've done, which I have to give kudos to my supervisors and the CCMAP team, because they've embraced this and they're enjoying it. And we're excited to roll it out to our customers in early January. And hopefully, if things continue to go as successfully as they have been, we're going to roll it out to the other divisions within OMJ as well. And I have to say, just real quick on a personal note, I love it because I've been putting it into practice. I have a teenager. We talk a lot about her goals. One of them is keeping her room clean. It gets very overwhelming, and I goal forward her. I said, okay, well, what could we do? And I said, why don't we start with, just picking up the clean clothes and putting them back on the hangers. Let's just put the dirty clothes in the pile. Let's just bring the dishes downstairs. And my God, I had a clean bedroom for my teenager this morning. So it worked. And there was no fighting or yelling or bickering. She was working the plan, and she had no clue that I had done this. So I'm excited to see what we can do with our youth if I can do it at home with my kids. So
sometimes
Mandy, you said you were excited. Anybody that knows you knows you're always excited.
Excited.
That's true.
Thank you. So
Yep.
then maybe mid-year you can come back and give the commissioners an update on where you're at in the process then.
Absolutely. I'd be happy.
Thank you so much for your leadership.
Yep.
My next agenda item, and I told you I just was speeding through my agenda, but it's the wrong acronym. I put RESA. It's RESEA, and it's Reemployment Services and Eligibility Assistance. And so we've had the state of Ohio staff as a presence in our Ohio Means Job Center, and they've been providing employment services to those individuals that are in a declining industry. They've provided wraparound supports. They've created reemployment plans with these individuals. Well, the state of Ohio has decided that they're no longer want to align with this program and have offered area workforce divisions the opportunity to bring it in-house locally. And so again, Portage County raised their hand and said, yes, we want to take on the duties. And so Jared is on the phone for two purposes today, but Mandy and I met with Jared to see how the union felt about bringing these services in-house. They would be aligned with the jobs counselors' job descriptions that potentially would need to be modified. we would receive additional funding in this space upwards of $103,000 through spring or summer of 2022. That potentially could allow us to add another jobs counselor position to our workforce to be able to provide these services. So we're excited for it. I think the other two counties, Geauga and Ashtabula in Area 19, are going to participate as well, or considering, but we're excited to have it. And Jared, we just want to thank the union for supporting this additional duty into Portage JFS. So that's really it in that space. And then the other agenda item I had was upcoming programs and services. So real briefly, for the group home, we are going to bring in substance abuse groups into the group home on site, and Town Hall 2 is going to be doing those groups twice a month. And we're also going to be bringing anger management groups into the group home in January, also twice a month. Most of these services are covered under Medicaid. There might be some auxiliary expenses like travel and those things that JFS might have to cover, but we're excited to have them on site at the group home. As you know, many of our young people that transition there struggle with a number of things. Substance abuse has been a reoccurring challenge, and so we're really excited to partner with those two agencies at the group home. We also applied for a grant recently, a very small grant, a few $1,000s, but to have a day of service in January around Dr. King's holiday. So Mandy and the group home team with the CCMEP youth and the residents of the group home, if approved, are going to work to volunteer at Kent Social Services and the Senior Center, contingent on the pandemic not being out of control. But we're also going to, if approved, use those funds for care packages for senior citizens and residents that frequent the food distribution sites, but not food items per se, things like sanitary products and those kind of shower gels and shampoos and those things that you can't buy with a food stamp card. So we're excited to have that. We're also going to create a video about the importance of serving others and have our youth participate in that. So more to come on that, but we thought that's a really good project for young people to get involved in as far as, serving others. And so that's really the moving into our resolutions at this point. And so the very first resolution that I present to you is, and this is Jared is on our call. I've kept you abreast of just our financial constraints related to the children's services world, and I'm thankful to have Jared as a union president and to have the board we have, AFSCME board that we have, that we've been in communication throughout the year. And my staff, our staff, has just really understood and rose to the challenge. This contract that I present to you is a one-year contract that has no financials in it. And I, in the last 3 weeks, have had meetings with all 190 staff. I gave them year-end updates as well as an overview of the budget. And last week, Jared, correct me if I'm wrong, they voted on this one-year contract, and it was approved from 88 yeses and 6 nos. So one, I think our staff are thankful to have jobs. I know they are, but two, I think they really recognize as a team that, 2019 and 2020 has been a very challenging year for JFS. So I present this to you in resolution for you to sign, to approve and to sign. But before you do that, I know Jared wanted to say a few things about where we're at. So Jared, I'll defer to you.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks, Kelly Jo. I did want to say that we will be, when we formulate a new committee for the next round of IBB negotiations coming this spring, I've talked to Kelly Jo, and we're also the union's gonna organize a levy committee as well. We're gonna formulate a levy committee that we're going to have work with Kim McClendon and her committee, so we won't be double lifting or duplicating efforts for the children's services levy. So we'll have a committee and support that. And I recognize the budget constraints. I appreciate you guys and everything that you do. And we've been very grateful for the opportunity to telework. I know that morale is high, productivity is high, and there's no easy way to tell 139 people in my union that there's no financial increases next year. But that softens the blow when you can stay home and stay safe and continue to work in the environment that you prefer to work in, especially when it's working out better than it did when they were here. That's really all I've got. So thank you.
Okay.
Kelly,
Move
is
to-
there any highlights on this that you wanted to point out?
On the 1 year, it's identical to the last 3-year contract with the exception of we allowed more flex time occurrences. So there's 12 per quarter that they're allowed. And Sue, what was the additional thing that we allowed regarding time?
We changed the hours that they could take for their personal time. Before it was half days and whole days. Now we changed it to an hour.
Okay.
Yep. And then we also allowed them, we talked about this, I believe we talked about this because I remember trying to explain it so that it made sense. But previous to this contract, when you were in sick leave status, that was not considered in work status for overtime purposes. And what we did was just change that to any sick leave that's prior approved. So say a doctor's appointment or something like that. We would allow that to be included as work status and still get your overtime pay.
Okay, thank you.
Move that the Board of Commissioners accepts and enter into a successor collective bargaining agreement between the Portage County Board of Commissioners and Local 1696, AFSCME, and Ohio Council 8 of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal, AFL-CIO WAU.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes. Thank you, Jared, very much. Thank you to your members, and we really appreciate the teamwork from you, your members on this agreement, but also just throughout this 2020 that's been so hard on our residents, on our staff, and you guys just continue to rise to the occasion, and we appreciate it very, very much.
Yes, thank you.
And then I was overzealous in my next resolution. I'm going to represent that in January. It's an advance on taxes for 2021. We did that last year where typically we get our children's services tax money in March. We ask for it in February via this resolution. So if you don't mind, because it's in reference to 2021, I'll represent it at the January meeting, if that's okay.
Okay, so you're pulling this one, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And then I just have one more, and then Sue's going to be on presenting the rest. I present to you a resolution of necessity for placing an additional tax levy on the ballot in May for Children's Services Fund for the treatment of abused, neglected, and dependent children. Regarding our financial constraints, kept you abreast of the loss of Protect Ohio. That's not a reoccurring fund for us. We talked about increased placement costs that even in the most recent last quarter were at $1.3 million through November. And last year we spent, only 1 million. So I'm not going to rehash everything in this session, but it has, and then as just witnessed by the fact that our staff have voted to not accept any increases, it's incumbent on me as a director and a leader to take the necessary steps to make our budget whole in children's services again. And it's my firm belief, outside of even the efficiencies that we've put in place and the ones to come, that this levy is very necessary for the Children's Services Division. And so I present it to you and hope that you support it. It is a 0.50 mil levy, and the auditor has shared with me that just on average, or an estimate, not average, that it would bring in potentially $1.9 million additional funds to children's services. And so I present it to you in hopes that you will support this. There will be if in contingent on you doing that, I'll present a second resolution in January that will complete it, and we'll move forward to put it on the ballot then.
Kelly Jo, didn't we just renew a levy for children's services? Because I remember at the time, you were thinking about doing a replacement versus a renewal, but you were concerned about it not passing. And I think you just went for the renewal, which it passed.
Yep.
Right?
We actually have two levies, or two of them that they initiated in the 80s, and we've never come before the board since the 80s with those two. It's a 0.49 and a 0.75. And yes, this past November, we had just passed that. It was a 0.49, and I was really reluctant because we were still in the process of building efficiencies and hopeful that our Protect Ohio funds were going to come in 2020, and you know the story behind that. So yes, and I absolutely am committed to building the case to the residents and the voters, so they understand all of our efforts, that we're not, you know, looking for a bailout, but that we're really looking for assistance, and so they're really comfortable, at least with where we've been in this whole process. So like Jared said, there's a lot of support as far as the levy committee and going out to the taxpayers and you know, putting up our case. So again, I hope you support it, and I really hope that it passes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to the necessity for placing an additional tax levy for the benefit of Portage County for the purpose of providing funds for the benefit of children's services for the care, placement, and treatment of abused, neglected, and dependent children.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Yes. Yes.
Oh.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
And Sue is on for the remainder.
Okay.
Yes, I
Thanks,
am.
Joe.
I'm going to
Alrighty.
at the end. Thank you. I'm hanging out.
Alrighty, so the first one that I have, which I believe is number 4 on your agenda, is a normal practice that we do every 2 years. This gives the Director of Job and Family Services the privilege of entering into agreements, child placement agreements, for the children that we take into custody with the placement providers. It is a basic rate not to exceed $5 million annually, and it is for a term of January of 2021 to December 2023.
Move that the Board of Commissioners authorizes the Portage County Job and Family Services to enter into agreements for the provision of child placement and related services with various service providers.
You know what? I have a question. Have we reviewed this with the prosecutor? And the only reason I say it is because normally the only one that's allowed to bind for a contract is the Board of Commissioners on behalf of Jobs and Family Services. And this is allowing basically you, Kelly Jo, to enter into a contract and bind the county for it. Is that correct?
When Sue says it's a historic practice, this has been since before my time. It's been all the prior directors, and it's been approved by you all also 2-3 years ago and before that. And so these are the agreement that you have as an attachment is the state Ohio Department of Job and Family Services agreement that specifies what the placement providers have to align with. And so these are fluid agreements as well. So right now we have 27 established agreements with placement providers and totaling on the books $4.9 million. We spent $3 million last year in placement costs. So, but you know, those providers, sometimes we don't use them routinely. And we also negotiate rates with them, per diem rates. Every year when they present, you know, $250 a day in per diem, I also negotiate and try to ensure that, you know, we're getting a reduction in those. So this is not a traditional contract that's in place. It's a fluid process as kids come and go in the system, as we decide that we're going to discontinue use with these placement providers. So it's not a traditional contract. I know Sue can speak to what we do relevant to purchase orders there, but it's, again, this is a practice that was in place when I became a director, and it's my understanding it's been in place for many, many, many years. So no, I did not review it with the prosecutor just because it's been a standard practice.
Yeah, because the amount also is alarming, the 5 million annually. I mean, I can understand it was over the time frame of 21 to 23, but 5 million, I mean, it just seems like a lot. And like I said, I just don't recall.
Yeah, it's been in past resolutions. Again, over the last 5 years, comfortably, we've been at $3 million. This year, very well, we might be beyond that. And so the $5 million was a amount that's been in all the resolutions. Again, it precedes me. I just followed suit with what the other directors were presenting to the Board of Commissioners. And it was a safety. 5 million is a safe. We are at 3 million, unfortunately. We're at over 3 million. So I would think that that was just to ensure, you know, that there's coverage there and they wouldn't have to amend it. But this again this is not a new practice. This is what we've been doing for years. And
There's also, I was gonna say, there's also an emergency piece of it. If we have a child that we need to place, we
Yeah.
really can't wait for the contract process to go through its normal process to be able to place a child. Say if they have a certain, you know, an eating disorder and there's only one place that can
Yeah.
actually, you know, take care of that child. It allows Kelly Jo to be able to make the decision, you know, we have a child in our hands right now that needs a bed tonight. It allows her to enter into that agreement.
Okay.
And just 2 weeks ago, we had a child that had significant mental health and some psychosis going on, a risk to self and others. And we had to engage in a contract with Cincinnati Hospital. And again, they want something signed before they open up their facility to say, we're committed to paying you. This is also a customary practice with other child welfare systems for the reasons Sue just said. It's not a traditional, we can wait months to get this signed. It's that day and that bed. And as you know, I've presented in the past, we have a crisis right now in Ohio as far as beds available for kids. And so, and we also, there's just a recent story regarding a facility that had some issues. Sometimes facilities get shut down, or I choose to discontinue working with facilities because of things that happen in them. So just pulling kids out doesn't mean we necessarily shut the contract down right away, the agreement. But we do need to have these open and available in order to get kids placed. We don't have enough foster homes. You know the story I presented.
Yeah. Okay. Well, like I said, I was just alarmed at the amount. I mean, that's all. Okay.
And
I'll
it's
second.
customary. Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner. I
Yeah,
appreciate
you're welcome. Thanks for the explanation too.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Roll call, Amy.
Was there a second? I didn't hear.
I
Yes.
said,
Sabrina seconded.
Okay. Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Okay, the next one is also a normal one that we bring forth to you. I'm sorry, I was just looking at the time period. So this one's just for a month. Okay, this gives, or a year, yeah. This
I
gives.
minimized it, Sue, to a year instead of multiple.
Okay.
years.
Okay,
I'll bring
that's
it
what
back in
confused
a
me
bit.
because I knew they used to be every 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one is giving Kelly Jo the authority to sign off on transfers between our counties. As we've talked about before, we get to this point in the year and right before the state fiscal year ends where some counties have some leftover allocations and we are able to transfer those allocations between counties. This gives Kelly Jo the authority to sign off on those transfers. Normally it's money coming to us as opposed to us giving any money away because we haven't had that luxury, unfortunately. But this then, as the last one, gives us the ability in a short period of time to get that taken care of and get that money into the county.
And this too is county commissioners typically afford the JFS directors in their county this latitude. I know Sue has been able to secure over $100,000 in funds from other counties that we'll see in our budget next year. So it's a supported process from ODJFS. They don't want monies to go back. They'd rather us transfer and fill gaps in other counties than having it go back to the state budget. So we're thankful to the other counties. We thank them immensely every time they say we have this, that, and the other. So, and it's all documented and transparent, and it's a routine practice in Ohio.
Because it's basically use it or lose it, right?
Absolutely.
That's
Right.
why we transfer. Okay.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to assign authority to the Director of Portage County Job and Family Services to serve as the board's designee with authority to request and sign inter-county adjustment agreements on behalf of Portage County.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Okay, and the next one is our regular monthly shared cost transfer from child support to public assistance for the month of November.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to transfer $21,008.92 from Fund 1414, Child Support Administration, to Fund 1410, Public Assistance Fund.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Okay, and the last one is just donations. It's an easy one.
Move that the Board of Commissioners accepts the cash donations from organizations, businesses, and private donors to support the Portage County Job and Family Services Presents for Kids campaign.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you,
Commissioner
Sue.
Clyde,
Ellie
Commissioner
Jo.
Clyde. Yes,
Yes.
I just wanted to, on behalf of JFS, wish you well and thank you for all of your public service and all of the support you gave to Job and Family Services during your time here. So I wish you well. And to
Thank
all
you.
the commissioners, you're welcome. To all the commissioners, on behalf of myself and the agency, very merry and blessed Christmas and happy holiday. And again, thank you all for your support and looking forward to a better, more safe 2020.
Thank you
Ellie
so
Jo.
much.
Thank you.
Happy
Happy
holidays.
holidays, guys.
All right. Jean,
Morning.
on to packet 3 and water resources.
There's several issues. Largest portion of the work today is centering on Manaway. On this past Tuesday, the 15th, the Village of Manaway Council approved the transfer agreement for the water and wastewater facilities and infrastructure ownership to transfer to the county and the operating responsibility for both. I would respectfully request approval. This is time sensitive in order to get the actual transfer, which will occur at 8 o'clock on January 4th. So that closes their year and starts our year as close as we can get to the calendar. So
Okay.
And we're all ready, Jean? We've got people in
We're-
place?
well, the next step is to come back and start looking for people to fill places. But yes, we're moving in that direction.
Okay.
No recommendation by name yet. The second piece is a companion, and that's the rules and regulations that by necessity have to change in order to include those things that are now Manaway. Historically, Portage County has always charged quarterly for services. The village has historically always charged monthly for utility service. Their request was to maintain the monthly billing process, which is an extra step for Mr. Bragg and his group, but is something from the financial standpoint, I think collectively we agree makes the most sense. So those changes and the surcharges that will also be asked of the Manaway customers are included in the resolutions. And the memo actually only mentioned 2, but between Tia and David Garnier, they went through with a fine-tooth comb and found some changes, primarily in the vocabulary where it said quarterly, it needs to say the billing period. So a lot of it is just changes around billing cycles. So we respectfully request that those resolutions be passed today in order to provide for the billing process.
Is that the new one that you sent us, Jean, or is that in with our first packet?
I
That's
think
new one.
the resolution 4, the relatively thick packet, is correct at this point. And the resolution and the actual rules and regulations are attached there too. And resolution 1 is the actual transfer agreement. And I'm sorry,
I
yes,
think it's
resolution.
4, right? Or no?
Yeah,
Resolution 4 is the,
Isn't it? The resolution, the add-on, the transfer agreement?
yes. Mhm.
okay. Move to enter into a transfer agreement between the Portage County Board of Commissioners and the Village of Manaway for the county to take ownership of the village's water and sanitary sewer utilities, placing both under the jurisdiction of the Board of Portage County Commissioners.
I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes. Amy, I think we just need you to speak up a little bit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, and that other add-on, is that the second one, and an ordinance amending ordinance 2019-49? Or do you want me to go to our packet?
Back to the packet.
Okay. Move that
Can
the
I
board-
just ask really quick, Jean, is there a resolution to match discussion item 2, or was the add-on that we just passed?
That should be resolution 4. It goes with
Got it.
discussion item. Yeah.
Sorry, thank you.
But resolution 1, which would be the next one in the sequence, we'd respectfully request that in the second to last and last whereas, that the term surcharges be replaced with the term assessments. And I'll work with Amy to make sure that's done. It doesn't change the actual header, just in the
Okay.
body.
Okay, move that the Board of Commissioners approves the Ohio Public Works Commission funding application for project RV-017-080, Chen Regional Sewer Improvements and Portage County Regional Sewer District. That's not it, is it? Ravenna Township?
Yes, that's chin allotment.
Okay,
Back
okay,
to the original packet.
okay.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Okay, the Board of Commissioners agrees to approve a request from Scott Borgwin and Jamie Huth for installment payments of connection charges for connections to the sanitary sewage system in the Portage County Regional Sewer District and establishing the terms and conditions of the same.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees the general sewer and water improvements to Cranberry Creek Subdivision Phase 4, Portage County Water Resources Department, project number BR-2 19-030P.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners adopts the revised rules and regulations for the construction, maintenance, operation, use, and protection of sanitary sewer systems and waterworks systems under the jurisdiction of the Board of Portage County Commissioners.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jean.
Nice work, Jean, to you and your department on this Herculean task of the transfer. So thank you.
Wow. A lot of work.
Couple of meetings.
Right.
Right.
I'll be right back. I'll see where Mr. Bragg is.
Okay.
Morning, Todd.
Morning. Is he muted?
No.
Good morning.
Morning.
I got too many windows open. I couldn't find you and I couldn't find my volume.
That's funny.
All right. Do you want to start with the discussion on the budgets? I think, did solid waste pass this morning?
Yes.
That one's out of the way. If we go to the non-general, usually there's not too many questions on it. Did you have any questions regarding the non-general that I had sent you last night?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I don't either.
So then going to the general fund, what I sent you was a resolution that has three options. One includes a possible COLA. One is at 0%, but with the fully funding of the additional sales tax personnel, with the understanding that we need to work with those departments over 2021 to work out a solution. And then option C has also a 0%, but with those positions only funded at half. I would like to add, and I wasn't sure how to present this, but if you look at Commissioners Other, in the 4 lines, there's currently $3,369,400. For actual passage, I would like that changed to 2 million. We do need the 3 million, but we need to fit within certification. And so if we change that to 2 million, and then on line 7, there is currently $2,431,000. I'd like that to be changed to 500,000. You'll recall we turned in a very conservative tax budget with a very conservative cash balance. And so those alterations get us to within the certification that we asked for. We will receive an adjusted cash balance in January, at which time we can move those lines back up to the current values that you see.
Okay.
What was the second change, Todd?
All of those options. So in Commissioners Other, which is Department 010, the 4 line, which currently reads 3,369,400, I would like that to read 2 million even across any of the options. And then the 7 line in that same department reads 2,431,000. I would like that to read 500,000 for actual passage. And so when you move that resolution, if you would just indicate the option and then indicate the changes to the department Commissioners Other as indicated, then we will have the actual resolution read that way.
And Todd, how does that change the 0001, the total line?
If you give me a minute, I didn't actually have that, but I can get it ready for you. That should read 5,801,740.
5 million.
801,740. And again, those would be true across all the options. Those figures were all the same across the 3 options.
And I'm sorry, what line does that change? I was asking the total, like the very first number at the top.
0001. Todd.
Oh, that would be the new 001 Commissioners Other total.
Okay.
And the total will change to 51 million. Oh, I had that figure and I didn't write it down. Give me a minute. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
The total changed to 51,108,511. That would be for option A.
Can you say that one more time?
So option A's new total would be 51,108,511.
Can you do B and C too?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
Thanks.
Option B would be 50,762,405. And option C would be 50,241,778.
And Todd, do you know what was our number? What was our general revenue fund total budgeted amount for 2020?
Was
Give me
what,
just a minute.
was it 46 million?
It takes Munis a minute to think.
I thought it was 47, but I don't remember.
We will be ending the year at 53,875,116.
And what did we budget in? What did our resolution say in December of 2019?
48,528,941.
That was 19, 48.
That
Oh,
was what you
20.
started 2020 with. Yeah.
Okay.
And Todd, how did we get to 53?
Some of it was similar to what we're doing now. We have a reserve waiting on our cash adjustment that we're going to put in right in January. That was, let me see, in January of 2020. Oh, we added, that's not gonna, give me just a minute. And then we had a couple of adjustments to the transfers out. That was over almost $1.5 million. I'm just trying to see, starting in January, we did $1.5 million right in January on top of that. And
What was
then
that
over the
for,
course
Todd?
of the year.
Just jog my memory.
For the January adjustments, those were some of the carryover purchase orders. And then again, like the commissioner's others, sometimes we lower that to fit within certification and then bring it back up once the cash balance is adjusted. In our tax budget, we only claimed that we were going to have, or we only estimated we were going to have $6 million. We're going to end the year with closer to 15. So there's going to be almost a $9 million cash adjustment done January 1st by the Budget Commission.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any general things you want to say, Todd, or do you want us to?
No, option A, I indicated that I was recommending. Oddly enough, as the fiscal person, I tend to be trying to hold things back, being the more conservative voice. However, one thing you have to watch is crying wolf too often, and then people don't believe you when you really need them to. We did estimate this year that there were going to be some troubles, in March and again in June. We were very worried about what was going to happen. I think we do need to recognize now that didn't happen. And part of doing that is possibly giving a COLA to the employees, with the understanding to everyone, including the elected officials we talked to, that while it didn't happen in 2020, it may still happen in 2021. But by bringing forth that adjustment and being honest about what really did happen, I think you gain, perceivance and buy-in from the other people when you do say it is going to be bad now. And so that's one of the reasons that I would adjust for this year and say, you know what we thought didn't happen. I showed you that sales tax. Even in August, we thought it might have been a one-time bounce that we saw that big spike upward, but that bounce, so to speak, is held for the last 4 months. So things right now are looking good. Excuse me. Now it's possible in February we'll notice a downtick in property taxes. But the other thing that I started doing when I came here was, rather than estimating revenues and estimating raises based on that, I started providing recommendation on raises based on what we actually collected the prior year. So 2021's raises are based on what we did in 2020. 2020's raises were based on how well we did in 2019. That way we're always sure that we have the money in hand for what we're doing. And indeed, if you look at our finances, we do have the ability to get through 2021 with the expenses being proposed. If things do turn out worse in 2021, then what I would, again, make clear to the county and the rest of the officials is that will affect our ability in what we do in 2022.
Todd, if we give the COLA, will we then go to the unions and give the COLA to them as well for the ones like Kelly Jo's that agreed to nothing this year?
Yeah, so in prior year, we had one instance since I've been here where that actually happened. And yes, we went to the unions and offered an amendment that they could either accept or decline. It wasn't a negotiated change in wages. We said, we're willing to amend this. Now, like the sheriff's union, we haven't even agreed yet. We currently offered 0. So I would suggest we amend that and say, we'll include this 1.5 in our offer. That's what we did the last time. For some of the funds like Kelly Jo and JFF or solid waste that are tight already, obviously the director and the board will have to work out whether that's feasible. But yes, I would consider extending it to everyone.
So I feel like the sales tax, as you've said, is just part of the picture, and we don't know where we are on the property taxes.
Well, for 2020 though, we pointed out when they came in that there was no indication of a problem going on. That was true even for the August taxes. And again, we've kind of created a system where next year is based on this year. And so I would say if we do see property taxes fall in February next year, that would be where we begin putting out a cautious message for 2022.
Mm-hmm.
But like interest did not fall like was anticipated. Property taxes did not fall. Sales tax is actually doing better than we even thought last January it was going to do. So at very worst, our funds have held even. Now, the big exception to that's going to be, and that's going to be over the next 2 years, is our state funding. As the state balances its budget, we're going to see the repercussions of that. So again, going forward, there may be issues coming up for us. And that's why we want to gain the confidence of the elected officials that we're speaking to, so that when we do say there's a problem, they understand that we're being clear with them at all times. That's my biggest worry, is when the state balances. Cities and the state in particular have been hit harder via income tax than counties have via the sales tax. Sales tax has held for a lot of counties. Income tax has taken a nosedive, partly because a lot of the unemployment benefits and all that type of stuff don't register as income, on the income tax side, but they do spend the money on the sales tax side. So we've been fortunate so far, but that doesn't mean that will hold out.
While I hear you and appreciate those insights and recommendations, I feel most comfortable with option C. In part, I think that it would be wise not to do a COLA at this time, but to look at doing a COLA in March after you have those property tax numbers in hand, and know more too about what's happening at the state level and just see this pandemic through the projected peak, which does move around, but is still in January. I think that the elected officials had a lot of warning about the tightness of the budget, the pandemic-related recession, the unknowns in the budget and in the revenues, the fact that there's a lot of people out there, our residents who are losing jobs, who are being impacted by this pandemic economically, who are not getting a COLA or may have lost their jobs. So I feel like at this time for us to move forward with a COLA without that property tax number I'm uncomfortable with that. I realize I won't be here in March. So, that's a recommendation I would just put forward that not wait until next year if you can do it. But right now it seems premature. And I've had conversations with elected officials as well that say and our directors who have done yeoman's work getting their staff their union staff to agree to no increase, that they didn't expect increases. They're glad that we didn't have to do any layoffs or furloughs. They're grateful for the hiring freeze that we got in front of this. So I feel like the environment out there is such that people are not expecting us to do a COLA. And then further on option C, I think that it is wise to add the $400,000 to the sheriff's budget, even though that revenue is ending at the end of this year from the temporary sales tax. But I don't think that we should do the full amount as that revenue, the $800,000, because that revenue stream has ended. And I just don't think that is responsible budgeting. So for those reasons, and I'm happy to discuss it more, I'm in favor of option C, with the caveat that I hope that you'll look at this after the property taxes come in, and there's no reason you can't do a spring COLA based on a fuller picture of the finances.
Todd, what's our carryover projected to be? Is it 15?
Well, it'll be somewhere between 13 and 15 million, yeah.
Yeah, see, that's where it hits us when we
Actually, it
cry.
may even be higher than that because we're doing some cash advances. But yeah, we're gonna have a healthy carryover.
After I talked to you yesterday, Todd, I did call some elected officials because I was just very concerned about all of this. I mean, replacing 100% of the sales tax, even though we have the money, I think I agree that maybe we should do the 50%. And then if something happens through the year, because if they're going to need the money, then we can always give it to them later. But I think we're sending the message that the sales tax is still going on if we fund them 100%. And that's kind of what the other elected officials that I contacted thought also. I mean, are we sending the wrong message? We've got a new sheriff. We don't know how that's going to operate,
Well, my only concern with that is we've had 5 years and we had a plan in place that 2 years out, we would try to pass a renewal for this. And we did nothing. And to wait till 2 weeks before the end of the year and a new incoming sheriff to say, we're cutting your budget there in half, just doesn't seem fair to the employees or the new sheriff coming in. I would suggest funding the whole thing because we can and work with the new sheriff coming in. I just think it's insane that we've sat here and for 2 years, we have not even had the sheriff come in and talk about this or anything. And every time I brought it up, and I brought it up numerous times about putting a levy on, it was crickets, or, we'll talk about this some other time, or it's not on our agenda. And I just think about the employees. Oh, I'm going to get funded half the year. I mean, he has a hard enough time keeping good employees out there now. What message is that sending to them other than we did not prepare for this as leaders in the county? And we had options and we chose not to utilize them.
The only thing I would point out, when Gene and I met with the sheriff, he indicated he was going to need more staff, not less, once the jail's full. And Hank has contacted to indicate that he needs more staff, not less, due to the caseloads that they're experiencing. And those are the two departments that are getting ready to be cut. Again, it takes a while to implement these types of things. And we have the balance to give them that time so that it happens thoughtfully and in the best interest of the people that they serve. But it is up to the commissioners how you want to fund it.
Well, and I think about when we funded for an additional 15 people, what was that, a year and a half ago? We funded them an extra $1 million. The first year it was $500,000 because we were halfway through the year. And at no point in time did we mention again that we were going to be reducing the funds going forward, even though the understanding was all along with the sales and use tax, it was not necessarily a permanent thing, that he was supposed to, through attrition over 5 years, not 2 weeks, make adjustments for that. And that's my concern. I'm concerned about the people, during a pandemic, that are going to get laid off because we wait 2 weeks before the end of the year. And I guess someone may say, well, we'll give him half, that gets him 6 months. But that's not really fair to A, the new sheriff coming in. B, we had options to try to resolve this before 2 weeks before the end of the year. We had actually 5 years to deal with this, and we haven't. I guess some people would think, oh, well, we can pass it and then in January we can do an amendment. But still, I think that's sending out a bad message to the employees.
Yeah, I would discourage against, if you're going to cut it, I think you should cut it and leave it. Cutting and then putting back at the last minute, again, it's more difficult to get those people's buy-in going each year to year. One of the reasons we have the large carryover is because during the good times, we were able to go to elected officials and say, hey, we still need to be cautious. And I trusted, believed, whatever you want to say, the board. And so we were able to store up some money for a recession. Now that we're in the recession, again, I would just caution against panicking too much. But those are your options. If you do option C, I would suggest that you not do a COLA and that you not increase that amount, that it be made clear that this is what the funding is for 2021. If the intention is that we might change it later, I would suggest that you seriously consider doing so now, so that there is more ability to plan and more ability for those departments to understand what is happening. Otherwise, you're going to get a lot of departments who constantly run things up and say, hey, will you change for me? Which we've been in that position. We fought long and hard to get out of that. 8 years ago, it used to be they would do an August appropriation for that very reason. And we've managed to end that over the last few years. So again, I don't know if the board's ready to decide or if it wants more debate, but I've said my piece at least.
Todd, if we do the 100% sales tax, what happens next year? Because if they're going to add more people at probation and the sheriff's office, they're going to need more than the sales tax, right? Next year.
Well, so what we've said all along is that we need to use some cash balance. And we always suggested that would be part of the case.
Mm-hmm.
And as revenues continue to rise and get some expenses to fall, we would meet somewhere in the middle. What I would recommend against is cutting down and then increasing later as we go, because that's disruption to their operations and whatnot. You know, the jail has never been operated yet at full capacity. So it's very difficult for the sheriff to understand what that looks like. We need to give him some time, in my opinion, to actually operate at full capacity. Right now, I think they're overly cautious. Oh my gosh, we need this, we need that, we need that. Once they actually operate in that atmosphere and realize some of the labor saving steps that we added into that, where we combined a pod, where we placed cameras, where they now have the doors, I think they may find that they can comfortably reduce. And again, to me, if you're upfront with your plan and you give the elected officials an opportunity to do buy-in, you achieve that together and it lasts. If you try and force that and it's, you know, there's alterations and it just makes people dig their heels in more. And that's from past experience again. So again, my recommendation would be don't cut low and then plan on raising later in the year, because that sends a confusing message for budgeting purposes. I would ask you to choose a plan and follow through with it for the rest of the year if that is the case.
Well, what's to stop the other elected officials that are going to give their employees raises anyways? I mean, you know, and then it always comes down to other elected officials have means to use other funds for raises. And then it comes down to the commissioner staff always taking the brunt of it, let alone the unions. They may take zero this year, but you know, they'll be recovering what they lost this year when there's reopeners next year. And, you know, and what about the employees that have worked through the entire pandemic that have come in here? I mean, I am for giving the 1.5% raise this year, because I'm more concerned about next year. And again, you normally base raises on the prior year's performance. And if we're going to have that huge of a carryover, it's going to be hard to justify. You know, like Todd said, you keep crying wolf, oh, you know, we're worried about it, but our revenues and our carryover keeps growing. And then I think there becomes a trust issue for the judges that can order their wage increases. I think it just looks better if we do it across the board. It tends to alleviate some of that. Not always, because, you know, we gave one judge money and he turned around and ordered again afterwards. So, and I'm not a fan of cutting the sheriff's budget with a new incoming sheriff. And like Todd said, we've not been at full capacity necessarily, but what we're seeing is the people that are not being incarcerated is putting the overload on the probation department. That money is going to need to be spent somewhere, irregardless.
So I don't know if you're ready to move on to the resolutions.
Okay. Well,
Did we pass the non-general revenue?
You haven't passed anything. That was the discussion period. That is actually under the general funds item 11. At that point, you will need to motion with the option. And again, the caveat that we made changes to the commissioner's other as outlined at the meeting.
okay.
All right, well, let's start with at the top with the resolutions.
Okay.
We sent the bill run.
Yeah, 1 through 4 in the bill run, fairly uneventful. I almost fell over when I saw the then and now, but that is all the CARES funds. It again, just the timing caused them to be a then and now, but and that literally was almost all of it. If you take that out, there's hardly any then and now left. So nothing to worry about there once it was checked into. So that's 1 through 4.
Before we start the bill pay, one last question. How much does 1.5% equate to for raises if you include the unions?
If you include the unions, right around 400,000.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Well, I think if you do that, you have to include the unions. right?
I would, or else that'll cause trouble later,
Right.
yeah. Particularly
Yeah.
like for the sheriff where they haven't even started. We would amend that. But we did that, I can't remember, Vicki, you might remember, Ron Habowski was here. And we did more than the union agreed to, and Ron had us go back and offer to the unions. It wasn't a contract opener, it was just presented as an amendment, accepted or not, which of course they all accepted. And so I would recommend doing a similar thing again.
Yeah.
It's not often this happens.
Right, right.
Okay. So we're gonna do resolution number 1, Vicky. Are we done?
That's the non-general.
No.
No,
it's,
this starts the bill pay with the,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Okay, we'll get to those.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to approve the Thursday, December 17, 2020 bills, ACH payments as presented by the county auditor and reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to approve the Thursday, December 17, 2020 wire transfers for health benefits as presented by the county auditor and reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to approve the Thursday, December 17, 2020 journal vouchers as presented by the county auditor and reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to approve the Thursday, December 17, 2020 then and now certification as presented by the county auditor and reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Number 5 is the last of our loan payment series for the year. That's the OWDA loans. Solid Waste has about $100,000 payment of that, and almost all the rest is for water resource project.
Is this in the packet, original packet, Todd?
I hope it was.
Could you
No.
guys give me just a minute to get there?
Number 5.
5 was not.
I don't have any, that Julie would have prepared that. Let me see if she's over there, if she can send it to you real quick. Julie thought the resolution was in your packet. Do you need it emailed to you?
I don't see it in the packet.
It's not in mine.
Now, ours starts with 6.
Right.
Can you just email that to him real quick, Julie? The OWDA one? Yeah. Give me another minute. Okay, thanks. Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. So she should have just emailed it to you.
Okay, got it.
Can you go over this again, Todd?
That's the loan debt payment from OWDA, gives grant loan packages that you apply for. Solid Waste actually bought, I think, 2 trucks using an ODWA loan. That was 100,000 of that. And then most of the rest of that is just various water resource projects.
Okay.
Okay.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to approve the wire transfer to OWDA loan as presented by the county auditor and reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Number 6 is just from grant projects. The JAG is generally the sheriff. One project was for some tasers. I can't remember what we did with the other project. These go back almost 3 years, but they've finally been finished and the cash advance is ready to be returned.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to the cash advance repayment for $49,530 from Fund 1107, Burn Justice Grant, JAG, to Fund 0001, General Fund.
I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Number 7, you'll recall we sold the railroad. We held on to our cash balance just to make sure that there weren't any additional liabilities owed by the county in terms of any, upkeep or repairs or whatnot that were pending. We're fairly certain now nothing is remains on that project. ABC is now taking total control. And so we are liquidating that balance and closing that fund.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to transfer $25,127.49 from Fund 5800 Freedom RR to Fund 0001 General Fund.
I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
And again, we're currently sitting around 15 million cash in the main general fund with around $1.5 million in encumbrances. This will add to that cash balance. This is money that the original general fund gave to the additional general fund back at the start of the building project because the revenues did not come in fast enough to meet the obligations of the contractor. Joanne is now comfortable that we're in the home stretch. There's no surprises remaining. She's comfortable with the funds that she has encumbered. And so this is returning that cash advance. In fact, we will have some money left over in that general sales tax fund, which next year I will recommend the board use to purchase the radios, possibly $1.25 million to $1.5 million radio replacement project. We can use the additional sales tax fund to finish out that project. In part, those radios, are needed, the upgrade to get to all the sections of the building and better serve those corrections officers and sheriff's deputies. So this is returning the cash advance to the main general fund that it had given almost 4 years ago.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to the cash advance repayment to $3,714,000 from Fund 0002, General Fund 5739.02 to Fund 0001, General Fund.
I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Number 9 is an amendment to the current year's general fund. Joanne finally did the Office 365 chargeback, which makes up the bulk of the lines in that resolution. We knew we were going to have to fund that once she did it. She finally got the information from IT and was able to do that. And so this helps fund that, along with a couple other, a couple phone lines went negative for the final year-end phone charges and whatnot. This just cleans up the general fund for 2020.
Todd, is this in an email or the packet?
This, I emailed you the revision this morning that the packet did not include any of the 5s. The revised version includes the 5s.
Mm-hmm.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to amend the General Fund 2020 Annual Appropriation Resolution number 19-0947, adopted December 19, 2019.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Number 10 is amendment to this current year's non-general fund funds. Similarly, a lot of it's cleanup. There's the amendment to the burn grant to get that cash advance budgeted so it can happen. Couple other line items. JFS had some cleanup to its lines. And then this one was also changed this morning to reflect Fund 1310 had an addition. So the version that should be passed on this would include Fund 1310.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to amend the non-general fund 2020 annual appropriation resolution number 19-0948 adopted December 19, 2019.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
And then I don't know if you're ready to do number 11 or if you want to skip to number 12.
Okay, the Board of Commissioners agrees to adopt the non-general fiscal year 2021 annual appropriation measure.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
And again, for number 11, when you do the motion, if you would include which option you are indicating and also indicate, the indicated changes to the commissioner's other department. We can do that
When does this have to be done, this vote on the general fund?
by December 31st.
Okay. So we're going to meet the 29th. Could we do it that day?
You could, yes.
Okay.
Vicky, yeah, I spoke to the auditor about that, and it will be really difficult on her and her staff if we wait that late to pass the budget for them to do the closing their books and opening for next year.
Oh.
Especially the 29th. I mean, it's too tight for them. I knew we had that meeting, so I wanted to check with her and see about that. I still stick by what I originally said on option C, but with considering the COLA after you have the property tax information. Again, I do, I hear what you're suggesting, Todd, and your comments, Sabrina, but I feel like it was very clear that this sales tax funding was temporary funding all along. So the notice was there that this funding, this revenue stream expired at the end of this year. We're not cutting the entire amount with option C. We're giving them half the amount. There's also some discussion that we had last week about the funding not all being used. So it's not clear. I think it gives you time to figure out the staffing situation. And I don't think that layoffs are necessarily in the cards based on the information that we discussed about how the funds have been utilized. And it gives you time to deal with that. And I just don't think that the county should spend money that it doesn't have in 2021 from that revenue stream anymore. It was temporary, it expires. I think that it's reasonable to do half of it to give time, so it's not a 2-week notice. It's a 6 months to discuss and figure out with the new sheriff, et cetera. But I think that makes sense. I also think doing COLAs now, I don't think anywhere in the country right now, public sector, governments are doing raises or COLAs. I mean, this is a recession. The taxpayers are not getting raises right now. Many of them have lost their jobs. Families are hurting. So I just think it sends the wrong message for us to say, well, we're going to do a raise for our employees. I don't think this is the right time to do that. And I think it's more responsible to wait to do it after you have a better sense of the finances. I think our employees know that. I've talked to elected officials. We know that our union employees, the 100 plus that are represented by the union we talked to today didn't expect a raise this year and knew that we are in a difficult financial picture as a state, as a county, in a recession related to the pandemic. So for those reasons, I stick by option C with an asterisk of, I would encourage the COLA conversation to happen, not at the end of the year next year, but earlier once you have information about the property tax revenue.
Kathleen, last night I looked over this thoroughly and I wasn't real happy with the options because I just kept thinking about but after, I don't know, after thinking about that carryover, I'm just very concerned how that's going to look, 13 to 15 million. I mean, Todd, are we planning on capital projects this year? I mean, we're going to have.
You do have capital projects that need done. Obviously, the airport, the board is considering a possibility there, which is a considerable amount. I've been telling you for a while that Riddle needs dealt with, whether you're going to sell it or whether you're going to fix it. There's going to be money involved there. We have to take the fuel tanks out of the motor pool. That's 80,000 there. That all has been taken into account in my recommendation.
Okay.
Again, the history of how I have made recommendations is based on 2020's raises are based on 2019's actual finances. I'm basing 2021's raises on 2020's actual finances. If we would see property taxes fall in 2021, then that would affect my 2022 recommendations. But by doing that, we ensure that we always have the money in hand. Even if 2021 goes south like we thought this year might, we will still have the money in hand to do what's being proposed in this budget. It will just be 2022 that we would need to be more cautious on. So that is one of the good things about that process. It's been frustrating when the funds were growing for some people because we were offering perhaps less than people were thinking was coming. But now's the time they see the reward when we're able to offer more than they're expecting when it's going down. I mean, that was always part of our fiscal plan, was not to have these wild gyrations where you get 3% one year and 0% another. We've been very cautious in our raises the last 7 years. I think 2%. We might have given 2.5 one time in the last 5 years. But the idea behind that was that we were building a reserve for when the recession did come, we wouldn't have to plummet down, do layoffs, do drastic cuts, all those type of things.
Yeah.
And we are in that position. Now, again, I agree with Kathleen that the logic is there to proceed with caution. I don't think anybody expects it. And so if you don't, I'm not sure that they will be angry about it. But I think that if you're honest with them and say, look, the sky didn't fall, and so we're proceeding as we always have done. But if it does fall in 2021, we'll need to make adjustments. I think that's a fair message to send out. There are some elected officials, I'm not sure who you talk to, but there are elected officials getting bonuses at the end of this year. And that's always been something that I have advocated the board try and limit. But there are some bonuses going out at the end of this year by some elected officials because they did have extra funds to work with.
Jean, do you have any thoughts on this?
I know from the brief conversations I've had reference the airport that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm running a number in my head of $3 to $4 million. They're in trouble again this year. They're going to need money to close out this year, I believe. It's not millions, it's not even six figures, but still it speaks to the larger problem there that needs to be corrected. I believe Todd had referenced once the capital improvement plan. Their Penny Hill Dam is another one that has been here as long as I've been here. And those are things that cost big dollar, big ticket items. You know, not seeing a plan and knowing exactly how that all is going to unfold, that creates some concern. If you spend it and commit it for future years, which is what a raise does, and the economic turndown occurs, then you have to go back to people and say, will you take less, which typically doesn't happen, or you have to start laying people off. And I think personally, that's a heck of a lot worse message than literally saying we've got a $15 million carryover. I mean, because in reality, last year's carryover, if you take into account the cash balances that were due, was considerably higher than what we actually had in the books because of the accounting process. Nobody's trying to hide anything. It's just
Right.
that 3.7 that was just approved to move back. It all rolls up.
Yeah.
I would just say he's correct. I have been a very cautious finance director over the years. That's why we have the balances we do. But I mean, that is taken into account. You know, I don't make recommendations such that we will have to withdraw it later. The Pretty Glen Dam is another project that's funding is still set aside. Even though the board delayed the project, that funding was left untouched. You know, so again, those projects are accounted into this recommendation, but I think at this point, the board just needs to decide.
What do you think, Todd, is in your mind the total capital exposure, including the airport, where it could end up? Not thinking of improvements to the airport, just getting it right side up.
Well, for the airport, I've said between 2 and 3 million, and that will get us through 5 to 10 years. The next big commitment would be if we do extend the runway, and that's not a guarantee right now. In fact, there's some, you know, we hope to go that way, but there's a lot of people who think we don't need to. Anyway, I think the 2 to 3 million will create a project that will tell us whether that next step is worth taking, but that would be 10 years out. So right now, the immediate exposure for the airport within the next 5 years, I would estimate it 2 to 3 million. And again, I've accounted for that. I've accounted for our vehicle replacement plan, the Pretty Hill Glen Dam, and again, Riddle, the motor pool, the nursing home, or our record center, as we call it. Those are all in my radar, so to speak, of items that
So
we need.
is that in the carryover or is that separate?
Well, some of it you include in the carryover, but some of it, for example, the Pretty Hill Glen Dam, even if we
Set aside.
100% cash, that project isn't going to start until 2022, possibly even 2023, even if you guys decide to proceed with it next year. Of course, Gene has indicated that there's the possibility as they upgrade the Streetsboro plant for, what's that funding source, Gene?
WRRSP. Yeah.
Yeah, I never get the letters right. So it's possible, you know, we have the full amount set aside, but it's possible that if we get grants, that money will free up. So if I say in the next 5 years, we have $10 million worth of capital projects, it doesn't mean we need 10 million on hand right now, because obviously each year we have room for some of those capital projects. And then on top of that, I never project a grant until we actually get it in hand. And I'm confident we can handle these projects even without grants. As we get grants, that just is icing on the cake that then frees up money to go even further with other items on our list, either further or sooner. We still need to deal with a few items in this building. The Board of Elections is one. The old portion of the building, of course, the annex is going to need dealt with next year, whether you tear it down or whether you make it something. There's going to be money there. So, I mean, there are items, yes, when we say we've got 19 million, 18 million cash hand at the end of the year, we've got a lot that we need to get done as well, but I have accounted for those in this recommendation as well.
Okay.
I'll tell you, this is really hard for me. It really is. I thought I had it all figured out, and it's difficult.
Well, I would like to make the recommendation for option A at this point in time. I don't know, Vicky, how you feel about that.
I mean, do you want to move each option and vote on it as we go through the line? And, or do you only want, I don't care how we proceed, but
I don't think we should do that.
No, I think we just need to pick an option. I'm in favor of A. Kathleen wants C. Vicky, where are you at?
Sabrina, I really don't know. I was on another option until we started talking in this meeting. I was on the option that Kathleen actually said, 50% of the current level, and then revisiting this in March to see what the state did, to see how the property taxes came out, and then giving a COLA to everyone. But I see how that's going to be perceived by the employees. However, when Kelly Jo came up there, she said her people were just glad to have a job, that they didn't get laid off. So I don't think, like Jean said, that people are really expecting a raise right now. But then you look over,
That's
like
the
Todd said,
conversation that I've had too, Vicky, with elected officials. I do think people are happy to have a job, are happy that we didn't have to do layoffs or furloughs like other governments have. And I just don't think this is the time in the year to do a COLA.
I thought when you guys were going around talking to the elected officials, they said of all things that their request, the number one was raises. Is that not correct? Because I thought I heard that more than once.
I didn't hear that from the officials I talked to.
I didn't either. I mean, there is one I can think of that wanted raises, but I don't, there's only one elected official I can think of.
Todd, I thought you.
I had several. I know the prosecutor sitting on the.
That's who I'm thinking of. Yeah.
He indicated that he knew that there was money available. Again, public perception is one thing, and I think it should play a role. But again, I would come back to one of the reasons we are in the financial shape we're in, and one of the reasons we didn't have to engage in the layoffs like other counties, is because we have had a plan in place that was cautious on the upturn and people bought in because they understood that we would also be cautious on the downturn. And so to always hedge on the side of, well, we're not sure, so we need to, like if the property taxes plummet next year, does that mean people don't get a raise this year or next year? You're kind of double counting the problems, I guess, so to speak. I would just point out that we have been preparing for this moment with the very logic that we would survive it. And I think our plan has held true. We did not have to lay off like a lot of other counties. We're not the only public entity, although we would be one of the few that was able to give raises. But I think when you look at the county and some of those other things, some of the way you send the message of confidence and some of the way you let Portage County citizens go out and shop is to say, look, things aren't that dire. Go out, participate in your economy. So that's the other side of that message, is instead of always saying the gloom and doom and we don't know what's going to happen. So,
Todd, I called some of my commissioner friends. I called Ashtabula. They're looking at 1.5. I talked to Jaga. They're looking at 3, but that's because last year they didn't give anything.
Yeah.
And then I talked
to Summit County, to be fair, Summit County announced 0% back in September of 2019. Their zero had nothing to do with the COVID. They were in sore financial shape even before that. Again, there's both sides. This is not an easy decision. It's not a clear-cut answer. I will tell you that I am on the conservative side. And so it's always unique for me to be the one arguing that we can do more. But when I say we can do more, it isn't because I've been willy-nilly in the past and ran us into, holes or whatever. It's because we've had a plan. We see the numbers. And when you look at the numbers for 2020, you just don't see any indication of a recession. You don't see any indication of a problem. And on top of that, we asked a lot of our employees this year. So that's why I put forward, I think it's fair. It's not necessary. And I don't think you'll be villains if you don't give any raises.
Todd, when
That's
you
the other
say
side
there's
of it.
no sign of a downturn. I just don't know how you can say that because
Looking at the data, take out the fact that we know there was businesses shutting down and whatnot. If you look at our revenues,
you
aside
were
from-
just talking about sales tax though.
no, I'm talking about our revenues. Interest did not fall at all, hardly. Property tax
interest
did not fall.
Barely.
We only, pardon?
Interest is like nothing right now.
But that's where it's been.
Right.
So
I
it
mean, to
didn't
say
fall.
that it hasn't fallen is like we're at, I mean.
But that's where it's been for 5 years. So that's already worked into it. It's not like we were counting on 3% interest and now it's fallen to 0.5%. We were only ever counting on 0.5%, and that's still where it's at.
Right. Well,
Property tax didn't fall. So when you look at our actual
we
collections,
don't know on property tax with the toughest stretch of the pandemic.
well, and that's why I keep caveating the way the plan works, that I have it orchestrated, is that you would watch your 2022 raises based on what actually happens in 2021. So you're right, we may still see a downfall as evictions begin coming into play now that were prevented, as people begin leaving their homes because foreclosures now start once again. It's possible we will see that downturn.
And with the mid-year property tax, we had the stimulus payment that everyone received. We had
Right.
the enhanced unemployment amount, and that ended in July. I just think we could see a very different picture.
I agree. And that's why I keep saying, if we do, that then should go into 2022. And you will be able to present at the end of 2021 a very accurate picture that says, look, we did see this downfall. Right now, we're still trying to say, ooh, we think bad things are coming. But when you look at the data, it's not there. And that's why my concern is always, if you cry too much that there's problems, people quit listening. And one of the best ways to get a financial plan like we have and be in the financial shape we are is it takes buy-in from everyone. And one of the reasons they have buy-in is because they understand what you're telling them is accurate. And if you take our 2020 data and lay it out, there, other than those 2 months I showed you in the sales tax collection, there is no indication that we had a hardship this year. Now, you're right. The federal government, the state government, the Federal Reserve, they all did a good job in trying to keep this economy afloat. And there's talk that even more is coming next year. So again, the idea that yes, all this stuff is ending is true, but there may be more next year. My recommendation is let this year be this year, let next year be next year. And this year, the data supports the recommendation. Next year, you're right, bad things may come, but that will affect next year's recommendation.
Well, Social Security was up 1.3% for next year.
Yeah, inflation's around 1.5 right now, which is higher than it's been. I think that's as high as it's been in the last 5 years. So again, the economic indicators are that we've weathered the worst, or I don't want to say the worst, we've weathered the recession so far. Now, that doesn't mean all our businesses are surviving. It doesn't mean people haven't lost their jobs. I agree with that 100%. But economically speaking, from the county standpoint, we have weathered it through 2020.
Yeah. Well, to my dismay, and I didn't think I would do this, but I will go with option A also.
Okay.
So in the motion for number 12, I will just ask that you agree to adopt the general fund resolution utilizing option A with the changes to the commissioner's other department as indicated during the meeting. And then we will get that resolution ready to go.
Okay. Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to adopt the general fund fiscal year 2021 annual appropriation measure using option A with the changes to the other commissioners fund that you're going to be providing.
Were indicated at the meeting. Those are the figures I adjusted, where we went to 2 million on the 4 line and 500,000 on the 7 line.
Okay.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
I'm going to double check real quick. I think that's it for me. We did the non-general, correct? We did that beforehand.
Yes.
and then I don't have my journal. So I believe I'm done.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you and Merry Christmas if I don't see you.
Thanks.
You too.
Move that the Board of Commissioners approves the December 10, 2020 regular meeting minutes.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Will the first meeting be the 7th or is it the organizational meeting?
I think the organizational meeting we scheduled for the 11th.
Correct. So are we having a meeting before then?
I would say no.
Okay.
I mean, is Amy on here? Yeah, there she is. Because I thought we would have had our organizational meetings first, and then that week we had our regular meeting.
Okay, so the 14th.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to appoint Jack Schmidt to the Portage County Regional Airport Board of Trustees.
I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to appoint Michelle Sire to the Portage County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
Before we continue with this, I received a call this morning from John Vanetti because he was shocked to see Mike DeLuke and Michael Daly on here for appointments because I don't know if you remember. First of all, neither one of them had reached out to the board, but back in October, he sent us a resume for a Tom Grist, October 27th. And then on November 24th, he sent us one for Maureen Haska. And normally if there's multiples, you know, to fill a seat, we would review these ahead of time. And like I said, there was some concern. I also got a text this morning and a call from Michelle Saris. There's always been a concern about Mike DeLuke because of his involvement in the union and when they were on strike. And so there's some concerns there. And John Vanetti asked that we hold these appointments. Their first meeting is not until January 20th. And he asked that we hold off on it so that they can reach out to these folks. And then also we would have a chance because there's 3 openings, which really only 2 because Michelle is going to go back on. And then there's the 2 openings. And since there's 4 applicants for the 2 openings, you know, sometimes we interview them. So, but I'm concerned because I know there was an issue before, and Vicki, you were here when Ralph Pletzian was here about, you know, Mr. DeLuke coming onto that board because he was very vocal. They felt like he has an agenda. And I told John I would request that we hold on this for now so that maybe we can talk to the candidates since there's 4 or 2 positions, maybe interview them to see, because like I said, John Vanetti called me because neither one of the people that he had submitted were considered. And the 2 people that we have for consideration, he was not aware, and they never reached out to the board or anything. So
I heard from John Vanetti, and he said he did not express a problem with me with the appointments. I think that these are 3 strong appointments, and it's a good thing that we have people interested in the appointments. Oftentimes we have openings and can't fill them. So in this case, we have to make a decision between multiple people. But I think that these are the right people, and you can look through their
but like I said,
qualifications.
I received a call from him at 8:38 this morning. I'm looking at my phone asking us to hold off. And I said, well, I thought we had to have these done by the end of the year. He said, that he could hold off to our first meeting to appoint people because their first meeting's not until January 20th. And he respectfully asked that we hold for these because there's concern with the one. And then the other thing is I also had received a text and a call during session here from Michelle Saras with the same concerns regarding the one. So, I mean, like I said, in the past, if there's multiples, a lot of times we would interview them just to see who we thought would be the best fit. But that was his request this morning at 8:38 that we hold off on these appointments.
Well, again, I hear what you're saying, but these people applied, they're in the packet, they're qualified. And I had back and forth as well with John about these applications and did not hear those reservations. I'd rather move forward with this since their openings.
Well,
their seats would expire at the end of the year. And I won't be here next year to help with getting these through.
Well, but that's the thing. We had no idea. We didn't review any of these applications for Mike DeLuke or Michael Daly. And
they're in the packet.
I know, but I got the packet Tuesday. What happened? Why did we select these two over the application that was submitted on October 27th and the one on November 24th? Who picked these out of four? Who picked these two? Because the other two were just as qualified and
we're not picking them. We're deciding right now. I mean, no one picked them.
Well, why are they on our agenda?
Now.
We would have a discussion on these.
This is a discussion.
But I don't see a discussion or information on the two that were submitted in November and the one in October. This is not a discussion. This is on our agenda to be approved, and they were alarmed that they were on there.
This is a discussion. We are discussing.
Okay, where in our packet was the applications for Grist and for Haska?
Those don't have to be in the packet if we approve these appointments.
But who selected them out of the four? I didn't.
No one has selected them yet. That's what this is.
Exactly. And I'm saying to you, John Vanetti would like for us to hold until our meeting in January because he has concern with the one appointment and he was upset that the other two weren't even considered and that this was set to be approved today.
I hear your concern, but that was not expressed to me. And I'd like to move forward with the appointment.
Until the 29th, and you can talk to John Vanetti and maybe to contact Michelle Sars so you can understand their concerns. And then that gives them more time to reach out because according to John, he didn't even know that either one of these applied. He said he doesn't even know who Michael Daly is. Now he knows Michael DeLuke, but I would suggest that we hold it for today. And if you want, we can consider it for the 29th. But like I said, John asked that we hold off on these today. And
well, I appreciate your suggestion, but we can move these and you can vote against them if you'd like to.
So you're willing to go against the suggestion that we hold off so that the board has time to reach out to these folks?
I have reached out to these folks, have been working on the appointments process over the last year and before that. And I feel confident that these are good applicants. Their applications are in our packet for us to review and consider. And I feel confident that these will be high quality members of the boards.
And that's your opinion. I have not had a chance to look at these. And like I said, there was 4 applicants. I think we need to hold off at least to the 29th. And then John Vanetti can reach out to these folks and talk to them and feel more comfortable because he was alarmed that these 2 were on our agenda and they had not seen anything or any request. Because normally they'll reach out to the board. So what does it hurt to hold it till the 29th to give John Vanetti and the Board of DD an opportunity to reach out to these folks that they had no idea applied? I don't understand the harm in that.
I'm just ready to go today and did not hear that reservation from John. And and John, in fact, responded about these appointments to me saying, thank you, keep us posted. So I'm getting different information.
Yeah, well, maybe that'll give you a chance to clear it up with John then if we wait till the 29th, then you can talk to John. It's not going to delay them moving anything forward. But, and then that would give you an opportunity to maybe he's telling me something different than he told you. But I mean, like I said, I've got 2 texts from Michelle Saris and a phone message, and John Vanetti called me when I was on the elevator expressing concern. So I would like to hold off till the 29th so that maybe they would get a chance to maybe feel more comfortable with these 2 since they were unaware of it.
Vicky?
I mean,
We can vote on this the 29th.
Okay.
okay.
So are we voting on Michelle?
We can vote on Michelle. Yeah, I'm fine with Michelle. I just asked that we hold on the other 2 until John and them have a chance to reach out.
Okay.
Okay.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to accept the course's employee and faithful dishonesty of duty policy instead of individual surety bonds for officers, employees, and appointees.
Okay, I'll second, but we forgot Michelle Saris, Vicky, number 2.
I did.
Did we do
make
her
a-
already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Amy, is that right? We got her?
I don't think there was a second on that.
I don't. That's what I'm thinking. I think
Yeah, okay.
spoke up. I'll second.
You want me to repeat it, Amy, or?
Yes, please.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to appoint Michelle Sarr to the Portage County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to accept the course's employee and faithful dishonesty of duty policy instead of individual surety bonds for officers, employees, and appointees.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners acknowledge receipt of the December 11, 2020 certificate of county auditor that the total appropriations from each fund do exceed the official estimate of resources as presented by the county auditor's office.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes. We have the dog warden item
Oh,
on
yeah.
the add-on.
Hang on.
Oh, you know what? I didn't get that.
It was
Yep.
emailed to you, Vicky.
This morning?
Resources one.
Julie emailed it. I think it was yesterday.
Oh, I didn't see it.
It was with I think you did because you read the other one on there, the water resources one. I can go ahead and read it. I'll
Yeah,
make a motion that
go
the Board
ahead.
of Commissioners accepts the donations to the Office of the Portage County Dog Warden.
Second?
Roll call, Amy?
Kathleen,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
All right. I think that is everything except for our county administrator portion. Did I miss anything
No.
else? Okay. Jean, do you have anything?
2 quick items, thank you. One CARES update, I believe due to Joanne Town and Yeoman lift, I think we're done. I think everything got done Monday in a timely fashion. There are some questions bouncing around from reporters, and we'll address those as it comes up and discuss with others on the CARES work group the best response. The other thing is the meeting on the 29th, is there a preferred time?
I'm gonna do 9 o'clock or,
That's fine.
That's good.
okay.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
Move to adjourn.
Jean.
Move to adjourn.
Hey, I'll second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky?
Yes.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Great.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
And